This is Gary Atensi with CNTV, and today we're in Aurora, Colorado. We are at Picture Your World Photography. Since 2007, she has been enjoying capturing your moments with her vision. I'm here with Sheba, who is the owner, founder, lead photographer. Let's begin, Sheba, first of all. In 2005, you experienced a loss that quite honestly left you with memories, but it also inspired you to want to create great memories for other people. Share with us how you got involved in this industry.
The event that you're talking about was the unexpected death of my mother. She was 48 and she had emphysema. As you can imagine, I was in my early 30s. I expected to have my mother with me for the rest of my life, and suddenly I got the phone call that she was gone. And it catapulted me into this awful depression. And quite honestly, I needed something that was going to get me out of bed, that was going to make me excited and happy and force me to continue living and keep seeing good in the world. And so one of the things that I had always wanted to do was take a digital photography class. I wanted to learn about this new technology, and I decided to do so. And that's how I got started. It went from me knowing nothing to having the camera in the box and being too afraid to take it out of the box because it was the single biggest expense I'd ever had. I was just afraid of it, to suddenly being where I am now, almost 7 years later.
Wonderful. I mean, quite honestly, at that moment, in that time, photography helped you appreciate the world again. Obviously, photography helps us all appreciate the world. Is that why you think consumers out there continue to hire professionals out there in the field?
I believe so. I think that there are moments in a person's life that need to be captured, that can't be repeated if that moment is lost. And you can't expect just anybody with a camera to be able to capture that. You need to be able to put your faith and your heart into a photographer so that you can experience that moment and not worry. If we're talking about something like a wedding or newborn or any of those things that can't be repeated again, you want to be able to experience that moment and have that photographer capture it and know this is going to be done. I'm going to have shots at the end of this, and I don't have to worry. And I think that's very important for people.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, experiencing that moment, quite honestly, it's a moving moment. Many of those things don't stand still. Not everything poses. Is that why the editorial documentary style that you've created really works best for you?
I believe so. I think what helps set me apart from other photographers is my background as a print journalist. I worked for the Denver Post for 15 years, so I needed to be able to see that moment when it was happening during whatever event that I was covering or with an interview with a person that I was talking to, and make sure that I could make that translate into print so that somebody else could read that and feel that moment. They could be a part of that moment even though they weren't actually there. So I think that translates as well into my photography, and that's something that I really aim for, is to try and capture that moment, the hidden moments that you might miss, whether it's, mom kissing her son on the cheek during a senior portrait session because, she's feeling that sense that her son is graduating, he's leaving, or if it's a wedding moment where something happened and the bride didn't expect it, and you get that sense of feeling, that sense of emotion, that sense of humanity. And I think that translates well into photography as long as you have that eye to capture it, if you're looking for it, and if you allow yourself to feel. I think sometimes photographers have this reputation of being sort of hands-off, being very technical, being very, not involved. Unfortunately, I don't think that's a good way to go, at least not for me. I'm very emotional, I'm very people-friendly, and I like being a part of that moment because that's the way you capture it.
Wonderful. What are some of the other events you've been able to experience out there? We're talking about birthdays that are big for people, anniversaries, celebrations. Share with me just a few.
So we cover birthdays, just as you mentioned, other celebrations such as anniversaries. I've done several of those. I've even done quinceañeras in the past, which I think are wonderful events, a great thing to be a part of. Also, in the lines of special events, I like to cover business special events. So that could be seminars, conventions, dinners, receptions, that kind of thing, where you really need to have that person who can capitalize on the moment that they're seeing. So it requires the need to be able to shoot both outdoors and indoors in case you're doing a business seminar and suddenly they want you to go to a nightclub setting and you go from bright sunlight to midnight in the middle of a club where people are dancing. You need to be able to navigate all of those areas.
Speaking of navigating, your specialty is obviously out there in the field. But every once in a while, you end up in the studio. Somebody wants a special day, and no guests are invited. It's just you and that subject. Basically, it could be something as intimate as a boudoir portrait, or possibly any other kind of individual portrait. Why are those special to you?
I like the one-on-one interaction that I have with a client. If I'm doing something such as a boudoir session, where the client is coming in and they're already a little nervous, I mean, you don't just walk into a space and take off your clothes and there you go, I'm ready to shoot. Very few people can do that. So there has to be this one-on-one connection with the client where I help them be at ease. I ask them questions about themselves so that they can share with me, how do you feel about your body? What part of your body do you love? What part of your body do you want me to back off from? What do you think about this color? So there's this camaraderie before we even get started. Like I said, I'm a people person, and I like that back and forth during a photo session.
You like them to be comfortable before they even hit the set with you as well. Speaking of, like you said, the ladies may be nervous. A lot of times they're not sure how they want to wear their hair, possibly their makeup, or how it should be done. Are you able to help them there professionally as well?
Yes, definitely. I often have a makeup artist who also specializes in hair, so we all work together as a team. Usually if I do a boudoir session, I ask the client to also get makeup so that gives them 30 minutes to just sort of sit and talk with me and my makeup artist, get to know them a little bit more. Why are you doing this? Is this about you, about a personal achievement that you're celebrating, or is this something that you're doing for a significant other? Talk to me about your significant other. What does he or she like? What do they care about? So that first 30 minutes is really just a people session, a getting to know you, a breathing session so that they calm down and they realize, I'm human too. And then after that, we sit the client down, we have them lay out all of their different items, and we sort of work with them to see, which piece of clothing works best. Let's try that. No, let's try this. And so there's this collaboration that I think is very important with my clients.
Wonderful. Folks, take a look at the bottom of your screen right there. What you're going to see basically is her website. On the website, first and foremost, check out her galleries. A lot of galleries there to get your creative juices flowing. You're not sure possibly how you want to be photographed, how you want her to picture your world. You're going to get some great ideas there. She really is great out on location with an editorial, a documentary kind of style that really unobtrusive. She's basically there at your event, but she's at your event capturing, hopefully, something you're going to look back years and years later and realize you were so glad a professional captured for you. Also, check out her testimonials. A lot of testimonials there of folks that basically have been able to experience the awe and the wonder of photography. Speaking of testimonials, one of the things I noticed there is folks seem to enjoy the experience. They seem to have fun. Speaking of having fun, why don't you share with me what an alter ego session is?
I like the alter ego sessions because it gives people a chance to sort of go deep within themselves to figure out, okay, what would my alter ego be? And decide for themselves what that persona would be. So, for instance, I've had people come in and say, okay, so by day I'm this business person or I'm a lawyer, but in the back of my mind, maybe I'm a sexy librarian, or I don't know, maybe I'm a hassled mom and I've got kids and I don't know how to, feel my sense of sexuality, or I've lost that. So then she may come out in a leopard suit. It's just far out. It's whatever that alter ego is. I've had people come in as vampires and just whatever that persona is for them. And it's just a moment for them to be able to have fun. They get their makeup done, they get their hair done. And that really is an experience for people, because what I found is that sometimes people don't even want the photos afterwards. They want the experience of being in the light and having their camera moments and just being pampered. So that really does become an experience for them. And then maybe the photos are kind of secondary.
So obviously the same passion that drives you every day, that got you involved in this industry of loving life again, enjoying life, how does it make you feel knowing your kids that are, quite honestly, going to outlive you?
I think it sort of circles it back to everything else. I got into this because I wanted to find a reason to keep living. I wanted to know that there were things in this world that was beautiful, that there was a reason to keep going even though I had lost this major part of my life. And so now to be able to know that I'm giving people images that they can hold on to even after death is something that stays with me. As a matter of fact, one of my clients passed away a couple of years ago, and the only photos that her family were able to find of them at that time was those photos that I took of them. So they showcased those at the funeral, and people came up to me and they told me, I'm so glad that we have those photos. We lost touch with everything. Everything was just a mess, but those photos helped bring all of us together. And I think that really sealed it for me, that as a photographer, it's not just about that moment, even though I talk about that moment. It's capturing that moment so that people can experience it and feel what they were feeling later.
As a past photographer, it's quite an honor when you see your work displayed in such a way like that, and it's able to touch and move a lot of lives. Folks, take a look last time at the bottom of the screen right there. You're going to see her website. Check out there. It's Picture Your World Photography. You really only have one question to ask, and that is, how do you want her to picture your world? I mean, it's basically your moment, her vision. This is Gary Atensi with CNTV. And if you don't know, now you know.